All right, so episode 1 of the Spiritually Incorrect podcast.
Is that the official name now?
I think we have to. It's the best one.
Yeah.
You're probably wondering, where do we get that name? Where do we get the name, Jesse?
I think it was born out of some Slack messages back and forth.
Slack messages and the good old chat GPT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's the guy that we rely on for our naming, our graphics,
the logo.
Everything. Pretty sure everybody relies on Chatham GPT these days.
Oh, that Chatham. That's okay.
Yeah, that's,
all right,
that's
cool.
his proper name. That's the name his mother gave him. But,
Okay, so let's just stick on the AI then.
yeah.
Do you think it takes over, and then they realize we're the problem?
I think my hypothesis with AI is that it's not going to be as good as people think it is, and it's not going to be as bad as people think it is either. Like, I do not think that something like Terminator is going to ever happen. But I don't think that, like, this utopia that maybe Sam Altman wants is going to happen either. I think it's going to be, like, at the end of the day, it's going to be a tool that we're going to have to adapt to. And I feel like people haven't quite gotten to that point where they're able to adapt to it super seamlessly. But I think that we'll know how to use the tools better in the future. Like, I think, for analytics and, some, like, fun creative things here and there, I think it's helpful. But for something like, as me as a filmmaker, I think we're always thinking about, like, is this going to replace us? But I think how I've come to grips with it is that, it can make something that's cool. But I think at the end of the day, like, in the same way that you want to watch professional basketball players play basketball instead of robots, it's going to be the same thing where...
That makes sense.
You're going to want to see real human performances, and I think that's something that gives me kind of satisfaction there. So I think, it's going to be like, how does this actually integrate into everybody's own world? I think a lot of people have their own ways of, like, justifying how they're going to use it, and other people, maybe they're using it for worse or better things. But I think it's going to need to be a tool that's, like, adapted to over time.
So you don't think iRobot will be a real...
I don't know. I think, like, there's definitely going to be robots for sure. I mean, there already is, but they're not as, like, technologically advanced as something like an iRobot yet, like Elon Musk's robots or whatever else. There was one that just came out a few months ago, and it was supposed to take care of everything in your house, like wash the dishes and everything, and that's how it was advertised.
That sounds amazing.
That's how it was advertised, but there was actually the way it works is that there's somebody who's controlling that, a human person. So it's not like the robot's doing it on its own, which is kind of weird. Like, do you really want a human person, like, looking at your dirty underwear? Like, no.
I mean, it's better than me looking at it, though, so that's true.
So, I don't know. I think some people might want to do it, but it's, I think it's either longer than we think, or it's not going to happen the way that, like, the doomsdayers might say it's going to happen.
That makes sense. I just like the possibilities of it.
Sure, all right. Let's play out the possibilities.
If something could do all of our chores, like, I love driving, but if you can take humans out of driving, we can get places way faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I was in LA, there was all sorts of Waymo cars that were driving people around, and it's just like a bunch of cars in a row that nobody's driving. It's so strange. Yeah,
like, once they can all talk to each other, everyone can go fast, and then they can just communicate, hey, I got to get to this exit in 3 miles, then everyone will just slow down. Because cars can be this close. They shouldn't be this close on the highway. Mm-hmm. So I think self-driving cars would make life way better.
Let me ask you this, then. So, for sure, like, maybe self-driving cars can reduce the rates of crashes and casualties and all that. But if you had a real emergency and you needed to get to the hospital in, like, 5 minutes, and, maybe in the future, like, your son or something has, like, a real injury, would you trust yourself to get to the hospital, or would you trust AI and say, like, all right, it's going to get me there?
Well, there should be emergency mode. So you just hit a button.
Blasts off and flies to the hospital?
Yeah, that would... Now we're talking. But, if you have an emergency, pretty much cars would get out of your way, kind of like the police.
Okay. So it would be in connection with all the other cars.
Yeah, so what I heard, I don't even know if this is real. Someone told me that, I believe Greece, somewhere in Europe, when someone's driving kind of fast and erratic, the assumption is, oh, something must be happening. I need to get out of their way to let them go because it's an emergency. Mm-hmm. But around here, we just think they're an idiot, and then we just go slower to piss them off. Yeah, well, yeah, that's Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Other than driving, the chores sound nice. Like, they already have those robots that will mow your lawn, like the Roomba for your lawn. Roombas are great. I have one I don't even vacuum this place. The Roomba doesn't.
It's a good deal.
That's halfway there.
I should get one of those.
Yeah, if there was a machine that could just take your plates off the table, clean them, put them away, that would be something I'd be down for. But then, would you want that robot in your house all the time?
Not if it was controlled by a person. I'll say that. I think that would be weird. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's just going to be... I mean, there's probably things today that people, 30 years ago would never want in their homes. Or maybe not in their homes, but, just some sort of invention. One's not coming to mind right now. But yeah, I think, at least a robot being in your house is something that does sound a little bit weird now, but maybe in 20 years, everybody is going to have it and it's going to seem completely normal.
It'll be normal. I mean, that makes sense, right? Same thing with cell phones. Mm-hmm. Right? That's pretty normal now to have that device in your pocket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then with the Meta Ray Bans, too, I think that's going to be more and more popular in the future.
Yeah, that's cool how they got so much stuff in such a small...
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's how... because people always complain about people are on their phones too much and being too controlled by social media. And I think it is partly true because it's when you're looking at your phone, you're escaping, the reality around you. Yeah. But if you have glasses on, you can see the reality around you, but also be connected to your tech and to your social media or whatever else.
That is nice because you see it all the time. You walk through Boston, right? And people on your phone, and you're like, I think they're going to walk right into me. They're going to walk right into me. Okay, I now need to become like a thin board sideways because they're not looking.
Yeah.
So I think the glasses is nice.
Yeah. So,
but I'm sure people would use them driving, and it would turn out bad.
Exactly.
It seems like humans are the problem when it comes to safety. So, if the robots can handle the driving, but then here's the next question: do we turn into that WALL-E movie, where we're all just really heavy, sitting in these floating chairs?
Right. So I think that's what we need to watch out for is that we don't lose our agency because if that happens, then. And I think it already has happened in a sense because I think that people aren't, going on adventures enough. They're not expanding themselves enough. They're not, socializing enough. Yeah. And I think with all of that, it's creating this loop where your brain thinks I can just do what's comfortable, and I can just look at my phone all the time. And I definitely do it too. But yeah, I think it's maybe it's just something that, despite all these, obviously there's really good things that could happen, like less deaths by car crashes and all that. But yeah, I think it's maybe it's an individual thing where everybody needs to monitor, okay, sure, I can use this, but then I need a separate amount of time where I don't use this too.
Now here's the next question, because the podcast called Spiritually Incorrect. When do we think AI kind of becomes its own religion?
I think it already has for some people.
Because at some point, right, when we first started, we thought there was a sun god and a rain god and a cloud god and all those things that I clearly forget. So how do we know people... Because you can use ChatGPT to be your therapist. You can use it to be your doctor. You can put your blood work in there. I do it all the time. Really helpful. It's a database. But at what point do people think,
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the closest material real world thing that we have to a god right now because it's basically
that's true.
It's basically a collective consciousness. Have you seen the show Pluribus yet?
No.
But that's basically what it is. Everybody has access to every other person's brains. And so when one person it was funny in the show they had a John Cena cameo and he says we are John Cena because it's everybody at once is John Cena, but then it's he has the knowledge of a doctor at some other point in the world and he can cook the best chef in the world. And so that's basically what AI is it's it has all of the knowledge that you could possibly want from any person, whether it's a therapist or a cook or whatever else. And I think it's probably taking the place of prayer. You know, like for a lot of people when they would pray, they might, you know, get down on the knees. But I think it's like an easier thing now to be like, okay, well, I'm going to get an answer instantly if I just ask Mr. Chat. But yeah, it's like, I don't know, it's an interesting thing. And then I think creatively too, because it's like, I think it's asked a lot of good questions about what is creativity, because I think to a certain extent, like creativity is taking a bunch of different ingredients, whether you're a cook or whether, you know, like you're an author or me as a filmmaker, it's like you're taking a bunch of different sorts of inspirations and then you're mixing them all into something new. And I think with chat, like people might argue that's what ChatGPT is doing. It's taking, you know, all these different sets of abilities and forming it into something new. But I think also it's like at a certain point it's going to eat itself, because it's like, okay, it's got all this work for all these people, but if there aren't people to continue to have those abilities, like to learn to be a cook or whatever else, then it's going to need to be like, okay, like who created that? It wasn't like where it takes its information from, you know, was it what's his name, Gordon Ramsay, or was it like another like AI thing? And so it's like taking the inspiration from that like chunk of AI rather than like the next generation's Gordon Ramsay.
That actually makes a lot of sense. It does help like when you're trying to fix something though, because it will like search the internet. So you're like, oh, I got this engine code, and it'll be like, well, based off like in 2 seconds, based on this, just reset your code so it'll go away.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think that's why, like, you know, something like the meta glasses too, it's like it can see exactly what you're looking at, and then it can solve things way quicker than
that would be nice. Like when you're fixing stuff, you can like have it the screen right here, so you can like go work on your engine. And then the YouTube videos right there, because you know when you work on stuff, you get oil all over your hands. You can't really go punching away on your laptop. I think I don't know. I think it's very interesting. What are your thoughts on? I'm pretty sure the show was called Severance. Was that the one with the Parks and Rec guy, Ben Wyatt's character? Yeah. What's your thoughts on that? Because that was. It seems kind of possible where they can shut off like part of your brain, and then like Jesse B goes to work, and then Jesse A lives his life. But yeah, it makes sense. Jesse B sounds like he's a prisoner, but Jesse A is really actually depressed.
Right.
That show was a mindfuck for me. I binged that show too. It's not a show to binge. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah. Well, here would be my follow-up question to that. Like, do you think there's, even if there isn't sci-fi tech that enables that to happen, do you think that there are areas in our real life where we like sever ourselves
without knowing it?
Maybe it's work, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's whatever else.
Well, it's just dissociation, right? So I think there are people that like they'll go do things as like a escape, right? So some people drink. Some people like bury themselves in work. It's like a different form of it. So, yeah. I mean, I know people that are the same person inside and outside, whether they're at work, whether they're at like a company softball game, whether they're at a bar. And then I know some people that they're really different with their friends than they are with their family or with their wife, or they're like a completely different person at the job than they are at home. Like, I'm kind of the same person, love it or hate it, good, bad, or indifferent. Either or, but I think there are kind of people that do that naturally.
Oh, yeah.
But I think they still... You're not fully shut off from whatever like your sub-personality is up to.
Yeah. No, I think it's... Yeah, I think some people, if they try to appease too many people and try to be like an ultimate people pleaser, then that is what can happen. It's like, whatever this person wants, all right, I'll give that to you. Whatever that person wants, all right, I'll give that to you. But I think, like, you know, with someone who doesn't, you know, bend to what everybody else wants, I think that's what allows you to be more of a whole person. But yeah, I would say like the one time where, you know, maybe multiple times, but the one time I can point to is probably the end of my college baseball career, because I felt like, you know, I was very much wanting to do other things by my senior year, but there was this commitment that I made. I was like, all right, I gotta see it through, and you know, obviously, I always grew up with baseball and all that, but I think whenever I was out in the baseball field, I was like, okay, this isn't me anymore. This is just, I'm just going through the motions. You know, even when I was out in the field, and I think like I literally like actually dissociate sometimes because I'd be out in the field and like I'd have to wake myself up. I'm like, oh yeah, ball could be hit at me, like 90,
just chasing down the butterflies in the outfield.
Yeah, exactly, 100 miles an hour, you know. And but yeah, I think it's like it can be hard to be present sometimes. But I think that's coming back to like the need to apply yourself and not become that like Wall-E person.
Yeah,
is like you need to like kind of physically remind yourself in this like increasingly like technological world, like, okay, I'm alive, all right, here we go, like I'm working out, I'm doing something new, I'm meeting a new person, and I think that can help to solve that.
So do you think, let's talk about this is going to be all over the place, if you make a commitment, right, you're like, oh, I'm gonna do the whole season. But if you're not really all in it for the last season, right? Mm-hmm. Are you really doing yourself and your teammates a service by not just leaving so they can replace you with someone who's ready to go? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, maybe someone would have taken your spot and been all in when you were chasing butterflies in the outfield, like the Benchwarmers movie.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
It's like it's having boundaries, right? Like being able to say no, like...
Yeah.
I think I was a yes man for a while, so I was like, everything was yes. I'm like, why am I always running down? I'm like, wow, because I was just drained all the time. I was like, yes, 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 yes.
And I think that's where it comes to identity and how you see yourself and how you want other people to see you. Because I think
that's true.
Probably what I was feeling toward the end of that is like, I wanted to be seen as somebody who sticks to commitments and that performs at a high level and can do, a variety of different things. But yeah, I think it's like in the effort to do that, it probably sacrificed some areas too.
Yeah.
In that like you weren't able to go all in on the things that you really wanted to do, and it led to something that was a little bit lackluster in multiple areas. But I don't know. Maybe that's just something like specifically with me that's tough. It's like how do you like fully know when to put all of your energy into something?
I mean, it makes sense. Like, you try to do everything all in, right? Because, like, if you're present, then you're going to be all in.
Yeah.
And then when you're not all in, it kind of, like, shows in the work. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, what's this guy just doing this in the outfield? Like, I don't think he's paying attention at all.
Yeah.
Right? It kind of shows. But people are human, so sometimes they change their mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like, what do you think is the best way to, like... Or when you're in that period of transition, to be able to like put your foot down and say, "Hey, this is where I'm at now." Whether it's a relationship, whatever else.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when people like they start to learn boundaries, it's like, this is my boundary, respect it. It's like, well, your boundary only benefits yourself. So yes, your boundary will also show who needs to politely go out the door. But it also like it's going to take your friends and family, people who are going to stay like a while, but oh. Shoot, that's right. You don't like talking about that. My bad. Like, it's going to take a while to, like, realize what you make a mistake, right? Like, same thing in, like, relationships, right? I like making jokes all the time. And sometimes Ray's like, can you not, like, make that joke right now? And then, like, it's a progression, right? So it'll be like, don't make that joke. And then, like, if I do it again, it's like, hey, I was like, oh, shit, my bad. And I'll immediately say, apologize. Then the next rendition of it is, like, the second I say, there's an apology coming right after. Because the guys that's coming out of my mouth, I'm like, oh, damn, it happening. So it's just, like, you got to, like, communicate the boundaries and just be like, hey, like, especially if you're on a team, be like, hey, like, I'm not really, like, committed to this final season. I'd rather go, play basketball or... Maybe you want to go work and be an electrician or a plumber or something. You don't want to spend all that time playing baseball because you actually want to get started on like your apprenticeship or something. Like, I feel like if you told the coach that, even if they got mad, it's like you said, like, hey, this is where I'm at. Do you need me for the rest of the year, or my spot? I'm giving you the opportunity to open up my spot. If you need me, I got you. I'm not going to leave the team stranded. But like, I'd really like you to find someone to replace me because they're going to be better than me. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm 80% here.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of depends. There are some times where, you just got to be like, grin and bear it. Be like, all right, I just got to play this out and see how it goes. Same thing with anything, right? Like, I was in so much debt so long ago that I was like, all right, I made this commitment to the consolidation company. I'm going to give them $600 a month till it's paid off. There were months where I was like, I can't pay them $600, but I figured out how to pay them $600, right? Like, you have to. I got the commitment, right? So it's like...
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting thing to raise about commitments, right? Because there's times when they are good because you want to stick to a particular goal. But then there are times, too, where you get, maybe 50% towards your goal, and then something else comes up. Life happens. And then I think that's where that decision needs to be made of, like, okay, how much do I really value this thing?
Yeah.
Is it enough to keep at my complete center? And, I think for me with making this movie, that's what I completely committed to. I said, okay, this is... temporarily, it had to be my center for the past couple of years.
You're making a whole feature film.
And I think that's what always guided me. It was like, even when there were times where it has been, like, super difficult to keep that as my center because different things popped up, whether it be, needing more money or, like, needing to be at specific places or specific times. But I think that it's like I knew that was something that I wanted to commit to despite the consequences of it. But in the future, it's like, okay, I know that was a chapter of my life. Maybe there's another time where I do this again, but I think it's probably going to be a few years in the future after I have time to really rest and, like, refigure out my priorities.
Yeah, reassess, figure out how to do it again with all the knowledge you have now.
Yeah, but, like, I think what's funny, too, is, like, a couple of years ago, I probably wouldn't have said that, like, stopping right now is what I want to do. I probably would have said, oh, no, I have to, like, keep making them and making them and making them until, I hit whatever goal that I want to hit, which is, I would love to make some sort of studio movie someday. But I think, like, just health-wise, I'm like, okay, like, I think I've really, like, deprioritized that, too. Like, maybe just having, like, too much fast food or whatever. And I think... like it's super important to be like, okay, like this was your priority for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe it can be again at some point in the future, but, like, maybe there's a new priority you need to set. I think that's, like, I feel like I've already set my New Year's resolution, which is to just, like, focus on my health and things like that. So.
Well, I think that's great. I think that's, like, you have to be, like, your number one priority, right? Because like, if you're not showing up for yourself, then you can't show up for whatever God, the universe, whatever y'all believe in, put you here to do. And if you can't do that, how the hell are you going to show up for your wife, your family, your kids, your friends?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, they want to be that number one priority to somebody, but it's like, I got to be. Like, Ray knows it. There are some times where she's like, hey, can we do this? And I'm like, I got a meal prep Sunday night.
Right.
And she's like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, like, I have to, because, like, if I eat out, it's probably going to bother my stomach. It's going to, like, cause problems. Like, yes, I would much rather do something else, and I'd much rather have the meal prep service, but financially it makes more sense for me to just cook the damn stuff, which, unfortunately, it's wintertime. I can't use the grill, so it's not as tasty as it is on the grill, but it's like, you just got to, like, take care of you first, because at some point your cup gets dry and there's nothing left.
Yeah.
But when you keep pouring into that cup, you're like, oh, shit, I need a bigger glass, So it's like you can help more people because the vessel keeps growing.
And that's that proper boundary setting so that you can be at your A game, and you'll benefit people more when you're prioritizing yourself. And even if in like one particular moment it seems like, oh, I'm not doing what I can for this person, like, whatever it may be. And obviously, like, an emergency is an emergency, but it's like, of course. For everyday life, it's like, that's something that I want to do more of is really having that routine so that, like, okay, I'm prioritizing myself, and I'm going to make sure, like, I have what I need so that I can then give to other people. And
I think that's the best way to do it. Like, she understood it. She goes, no, like I get it. Like, it's what you got to do for yourself. It's what you need. It's like, like, obviously we'd rather go do something, but it's like, I got a routine, and you can be flexible with your routine. I think sometimes, like, it's like, oh, this is my routine. It's rigid. It's like, there are times where I meal prep at, like, 9 o'clock at night on a Monday when I get home from work. It is what it is, because, like, we got plans with friends or something. Right. So it's like, you got to be flexible with it, because no one wants someone who's, like, super rigid, because then you can't handle when things change and stuff. But how did we get on this conversation?
I don't know.
I'm just really like, how am I going to segue to something? Because I figured out
we rode the wave. We rode the wave. But
we're talking about, like, boundaries and stuff. That's right.
No, yeah, I think that's really important, and yeah, I don't know. Something that I've been thinking a lot about too, and this is something that Chris Williamson said, is like what gets you to a specific point isn't necessarily what's going to get you to the next point. And
yeah,
he was talking about how like this rocket analogy where, you know, you kind of have this like toxic fuel that gets you to a certain point of, you know, success or whatever.
Gets you off the ground.
Gets you off the ground.
Leaving the atmosphere,
because you're like, you're so kind of like hell-bent on, okay, like I got to do this thing so that I can, you know, do whatever, prove to whoever else. But then, you know, once you reach a certain point, like you become self-aware. It's like, oh, like I can't be doing this to myself all the time. Like, I've got to find a different way to do that. And I think that's probably what I'll, you know, try to figure out this year. Like, what is, because, you know, obviously do still have goals, but it's like, what is that like next source of fuel that like, the rocket kind of turns into, so that you can, like, you know, go to the metaphorical moon or whatever, you know. And but yeah, I think it's like, but also too, I think what like maybe my pushback is on people who say, like, you know, kind of regret that like toxic part of their lives, and, you know, I think for a lot of reasons they should, but I think also it's like people almost want to pretend that it's not there, and then they're just like, oh, you know, like all I want to do is like find peace, and obviously you should find peace, but I think some people, like, you know, I think specifically successful people, like, I think once they find that success, all they want to say is like, oh, it's not about the money, it's not about this, it's not about that, it's just about, like,
it's easier to say it once
being
you got it all.
yourself. Yeah, they're sitting on a pile of money. That's why they're saying that, you know. And I think that's like, what it's really about is, I think it's finding the balance. You know, there's some times where you're at peace and you're not doing anything too crazy, and then there's other times where you really got to move, you really got to do something, you know, whether it's a transition in life or whether it's, you know, something you want to do in your career. And yeah, I don't know, like, do you agree with that? Like, sometimes people are too much, like, they look back and they're like, oh yeah, don't do any of that, you know?
I think it's like hindsight, right? Like, I think because, like, usually, like, when they get that much money, they're much older. So, like, I wish I had that life back. I wish I didn't lose all my kids' activities because I was go chasing this thing. And, like, I think there's a way to communicate it. Yeah. Like, hey, like, I'm not going to be really that available for 4 years for you guys because I'm going to grow whatever it is. Right. So you got to, like, communicate it. But I think that's the thing. I think when they get there, right? Like, yeah, it's obviously easy to say, like, money doesn't matter when you got a lot of money. Like, you're not stressed about bills anymore. But I think it's like when they look back, it's like, you know, when we're young, we want money, and then when we get older, we just want the time back. Right. So it's like, yeah, like that money, like, was that money worth it? Because, like, they don't know their kids. Like, they don't even know their grandkids. Like, maybe they were kind of shrewd business people, so they kind of ruined a lot of relationships. Right. And they're like, oh, maybe I should have just, like, maybe they would have been happier growing, like, half the size company, but, like, being there for their kid's birthday and in this and, you know, paying people well and all that stuff. So, I agree with that, man. I think, I mean, hindsight's always 20/20, right? Yeah. You know? Exactly. I think, now we're talking about Chris Williamson, I've heard him say two things pretty often lately. This one I've heard for a while is the magic's in the work that you're avoiding. But the next thing that he said, which I've heard him say pretty recently, the answer is in the silence that you're avoiding. It's like, yeah, like you got to do the work, but then you got to sit in that silence. And, like, ChatGPT ain't going to give you the answer. It's going to, like, smooth over your ego, which I think is kind of the problem back with the AI stuff, is, like, it'll tell you, like, oh, like, you're awesome, you're the best, like, you're crushing it. Which I think you can go into settings and just tell it to be, like...
I literally did that yesterday.
Oh, nice.
I was like, be brutal to me. Don't puff me up. And it gives you different answers.
Yeah, I heard Dan Martell Dan Martell talking about that. He's like, go into the settings. Like, you're not using this thing to be your best buddy. Yeah. Like... I mean, like, if you are, you need, like, the ego boost, and you got, like, really high, like, low self-esteem. Right. But, like, just get rid of it and have it give you the truth. Sometimes it's nice, you know, because it'll be like, hey, it kind of makes sense why you're thinking that. It's like, all right, cool, like, at least it makes sense. But now that we're back on AI, do you think that ChatGPT can erase having a physical therapist? Like a therapist, not a physical therapist, like a brain therapist. Like an actual human therapist.
I don't think so. No.
I think it's a great tool, but like,
Yeah.
I feel like your therapist knows you, and it's like, mine's kind of a smart ass, which is what I asked for. And there'll be times where he'll just make a joke. I'm like, do you think that I handle this like right? Do you think like what I was saying makes sense? And then it's like, I think that was the worst thing I've ever heard anyone ever say. But like we got a good like joke, and so like it's fun for us. But it's like he knows me, so it's like, well, Chris, like when you said that, were you thinking with this or were you thinking with this? I was like, shit. Like you don't even need to explain yourself. I know the answer.
Right.
He's like, when you're at work, you got to start thinking with this. But outside of work, when you're with your girlfriend, your friend, whatever, you need to talk with this. He's like, stop crisscrossing them.
Crisscross.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, but that made so much sense. I don't think the robot would have told me that. It doesn't have 3-4 years worth.
I think the thing is too, like, no matter whether it's at its default or it's super happy with you, or if you change the setting to be super brutal with you, it comes back to a setting. It comes back to somebody programmed it to be that way, and somebody programmed it to have a set of moral values. And I think
that's true.
You know, it's like, are we really going to let some tech company like dictate our moral values, or are we going to let somebody who studied psychology and understands all these things?
And now they have literally your whole life's information because you just like told it like literally everything that's wrong with your life growing up. I think it's a good tool that helps.
Yeah.
It's like if you're kind of struggling with something and you're not going to see a therapist for a couple of weeks, like, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. And then it's been times where it's like, well, this person said this, and this is probably what they meant, but your nervous system took it as this. And it's like, that is exactly how I took it.
I think it helps with like super kind of like logical things. And it helps you to get out of your own head. Because, I use it a lot too. And it's like, here's this like super specific situation. What are the things that I'm missing from, if it's like something therapy related, like this conversation that I had. Or, whatever else it is that I'm doing. But yeah, there is, I think AI will never be able to replicate that feeling of like being in the room with another person.
Yeah, you can't, because like, and especially it doesn't know the other person, right? So when you're like, if like, oh, my friend did this, my boss did this, my girlfriend, boyfriend did that, it doesn't really know it. Like it knows the things you tell, but I'm sure like most people just say all the bad things about like their partner, instead of, so it's like you're just giving them the feedback. You're getting feedback based on all the crap. But like when you have a like actual therapist, it's like well, maybe it didn't mean that. Like, maybe it's really this, and you just took it at... Like, it's just... It's much different. I don't think that's something you could replace.
Yeah.
I think it's a great tool.
No, yeah, it comes in handy for... Yeah, like I said, like, those in-between situations where, like, all right, like, I really need to process what's going on here. But yeah, I think AI is obviously a huge conversation topic, but...
Yeah.
But yeah, what else? What else is going on?
Well, I'm now an uncle.
We
might need to wait a few days to post this because I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to tell anybody.
Okay.
Well, they said no pictures, and clearly my niece is not here. So
no.
I should be good. But I don't want to be exempt from going over the house because I broke the rules, So we'll have to give it a few.
Yeah.
But I met her yesterday. That was amazing. My brother is the first one in our family to have a kid, so it was really cool to see. Oh, it's just crazy. They made a kid. I know it's normal and it happens to everybody, but it was just cool to like go over their house and she's like this big.
Yeah, a new member of the family right here.
And she literally just she fell asleep on me for like 2 hours. It was the best. I was like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, I texted my brother. I was like, yeah, so Thursday I work from home, so right when I'm done, I'm just going to come over. That cool?
Yeah.
You bring food over. People are pregnant. They don't have time to cook. They just had a kid. Like, bring food over. I did the dishwasher, took the trash out. Like, do something for them. Help them out. They got a lot to deal with, obviously. They're now trying to figure out how to make sure that little thing stays alive.
Yeah. And
you ain't getting no sleep in the process. So it's like, it was nice. We got there, and then after we ate dinner, after that, my sister-in-law, I think she had to go pump, and then I think she just like took a nap. And I was like, that's great. I am glad that we could free up a few hours for her to take a nap. And it was really nice. My brother was like, I was like, dude, it's 5:30. We got to go because we went to see a play. And he's like, wait, if she wakes up, you can feed her. And he was just like very excited to like let me feed her. So I got to feed her, and that was really cool. So it's really cool like to see the family grow because, like I wasn't really sure if they wanted to have kids or not. And, Ray and I were thinking about it, but, in no rush. He's younger than I am, so that helps out.
It's crazy what you were saying, though. It's like, sure, it's so normal, and it's how all of us are here. But it's a freaking miracle to see a being.
She has a full head of hair too. It's crazy. I'm like, so she had acid reflux the whole time, which I guess is when they have hair, you get acid reflux. I think that's a telltale sign, they say.
Okay.
But this girl's got like more hair than I do. It's crazy. I was like, wow, she has such like a beautiful head of hair.
Yeah.
But it is awesome. I really wish I was there to see my mom meet her. My brother told me how that went, so my mom's been itching to be a grandmother. So it's really cool to see the family grow. But yeah, that's pretty much the main things that go. You know, kind of a good year, right? Start off the year, met Ray, and then the end of the year, and met my niece. So.
Two good people to meet.
You know, I was like, it's crazy. I don't know. We were driving home, and I was like, it's weird how like I just met this little thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love this little thing so much. It's like,
just like the
not even my kid. It's like my brother's kid. Like,
love you feel.
Yeah, it's really cool.
No, yeah, I can understand that with having nieces and nephews. It's like, even though obviously they're not my kid, but it's like I just see so much of my family resemblance in them, and it's like, you know. It's funny, my nephew, my parents, and a lot of other people call him Jesse because, I guess I looked a lot like him when I was younger. So, I don't know.
That's pretty cool.
You feel kind of like this special connection, and you feel like you want to help to, be a good kind of, in many ways, I feel like I'm trying to be like an older brother more than an uncle, just because, I'm not super far removed from their age. But yeah, it feels cool to get to help with the next generation even before I myself have kids,
It is really cool, especially having kids seems like a very, I know it happens and you figure it out and it seems like you rise to the challenge when it happens. Yeah. But when you think about it, it's like, wow, your whole life changes literally forever.
Oh yeah.
And I got to worry about this little kid all the time. Mm-hmm. Because to me, I feel like I'm just going to be looking at her like, you breathing? Are you still breathing?
Yeah.
It
scares me half to death thinking about it.
We'll figure it out.
But it must be your instincts just kick in.
It's I talked to my therapist about it. It's your primal instincts kick in and you're good.
But it's so hard to think about that before it actually happens.
He's like, all of your stress is leading up to it. And yes, there'll be stress. Yes, there will be stress when you have the kid. But he's like... Yeah. There's just a switch that's never needed to turn on in you before. Uh-huh. It's gonna turn on. You can't. It's natural. It's just gonna happen. Your body's like, oh shit. I'm sure there's pheromone. I'm sure someone smarter that knows science could explain that.
Yeah.
But it's so cool. I'm like, we will never have a holiday dinner without a kid at my parents' house ever again. It's like, wow. Which we don't know if we're gonna do a holiday. What we're doing this year because we're probably not gonna make them drive anywhere. So we'll figure that out. But it's so cool and I get practice, right? I've never held a newborn. I've held a 6-month-old, so an older, but I've never held a newborn. So when we got there, Ray was like, "Hey, you gotta support the kid's head, and all this stuff." And I was like, "Listen, I'm not gonna do anything without verbal instructions first." I'm like, "I don't know. You guys know, so you just tell me what to do."
No way I'm changing the diaper. That's that. I'll wait till I.
And I'll give my brother credit. They're both on maternity and paternity leave, and my brother's he's changing all the diapers until he has to go back to work. So I give him credit for that.
Good for him.
But yeah, I was like, you tell me what to do, where my hand needs to go, what to do with my arm. Mm-hmm. And it was very easy once they told me, but I had an idea. But I was like, you just tell me what to do and I'll do it. But it was awesome. I've never experienced anything like that before, so it was just really cool to see it, and see my parents as grandparents, because my mom's just it's funny. My mom always texts me, and the past week, I'm like, my mom's texting me a lot less now that she has a granddaughter. So it's just really awesome to see, she's just, so happy and, excited.
Oh, yeah.
The picture in the hospital, my mom was, dressed up. And I know they went for dinner before they went to the hospital, but I was like, how long were you dressed up? She goes, oh, I was dressed all day. My mom was ready. The second, contraction started, my mom was
it's
probably just, staring at her phone like this. She was ready. So it's awesome. We're all really excited.
Yeah, that's so incredible. And I think it takes me back to thinking about, just life's purpose and getting to see a new baby being born, I think helps to externalize that fact of in what we were saying too about our instincts kicking in.
Yeah.
It's instantly you have purpose. You need to help grow the next generation. But yeah, I don't know. I've started to think about this more and more too, and as like I bet eventually maybe like the next 5 years or so I'll have a kid at some point. But it's I think what I've always wanted to do too is like and why I feel like I haven't been ready for the past 4 or 5 years or whatever, even if like I could have theoretically had one at some point. It's like I'm like, okay, I feel like there's things that I'm called to do, and I have wanted to do those things, and I feel like also because I know how much of a responsibility it is to have a kid and how you need to pour so much energy into them, that like I felt like I wanted to separate those two things. And obviously there comes to a point where you need to integrate and you need to figure out like where the sacrifices need to be made. But yeah, I don't know, I guess it's like I feel like some people are so heavy in the camp of like your purpose comes from your calling, and then some people are so heavy in the camp of like your purpose comes from your kids and helping the next generation.
Could also be both.
Yeah, and it's like how does it and how do you kind of like manage both, and like maybe like what are like the pros and cons of each, because to me it's like of course like it so much matters that there's children and that there's a next generation, but at the same time it's like I think life matters what you do in life too. That's like, how you're helping the world in general. And, to me, it's like that matters. But then also it's like people might say, well, the purpose is to just have relationships. And that's, increasingly what becomes more and more important.
Like building a community. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's increasingly what becomes more and more important as you get older too. And that's why like older people live longer when they have better relationships.
That makes sense, especially think about like like when I'm 70, like if I don't have any kids, why am I just going to rot in a home? That sounds terrible. Just take me. You know what I mean? And I think like when I was in my early 20s, like the first gym that I worked at, I had 2 clients. So Lori and Lucy, if you're watching this, I told them, I was like, I do not want kids. I was like, no, thank you, do not want them. They're like, yeah, you'll change your mind when you get old. I was like, no, no way, not happening, not at all. Yeah. And then I slowly started to get older, and I was like, oh shit, I think they were right.
Right.
And I think too, like the more I worked on myself too, I was like, well, what was the point of like working on all this stuff and alchemizing all this stuff if I can't pass it down? Like to give something better to like the next generation. So it's like it kind of seems like not a waste, because you can still help people, right? So you can still adopt kids or whatever you want to do if you can't like have your own kids, but like it did all that work to break all those curses and stuff, and then you're not gonna pass it on. It seems.
But I think it's like the struggle of life is that it's a paradox, because it's like I feel called to do this thing, to live out my purpose, career or otherwise, so that I can help people. But to see that to its truest extent, you naturally have to like neglect people too. But then if you're if you're completely focused on your own flock and your own kids, and you see that to its truest extent, then you're not able to do the things that you need to do to help to provide for them at the same time too.
Yeah, it's like everything's balanced, right? Like I heard DJ Shipley, GBRS group, he was talking, he's like, life is a set of dials, not switches. And naturally when you turn dials, other ones will naturally start to turn left. But we get it wrong because we think everything's a switch. Like they can't all be on. Like the other one, like there's not enough juice. Like the other one, you're either to blow a fuse, like you can't. So you need to know, like, when you're at work, you got to turn the work dial up. Then when you get home, you got to turn the work down and put the family. Like when the shit hits the fan, maybe you got to put the protector all the way up. Like, yes, there are times in life where you got to flip the switch on, but it's like, there's so many things where you got to have the dial up or down. Where it's like I think like looking at it, it's like, oh, it is really a set of dials, not switches. Like you can't be 100% on, because when you're focused on being 100% the best at work, that's taken away from being the best friend, the best husband, the best dad, right? Same thing when you're the best dad, it's not really correlating to you being the best, whatever position you have, right? So it's like one thing I realized, like being the best person you are at work doesn't always correlate to you being the best man or woman outside of work. But when you focus on being the best version of yourself, you have no choice but to be better at work, to be better as a friend, to be better as a husband, to be better as a dad. So it's like back to what we said, like prioritizing yourself. Like when you do that, you naturally get better everywhere else. And then when you do that, you have more capacity. So you can listen to more podcasts, you can read some books, some more work stuff, and figure out all that stuff. But I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. I think also kind of related to that too is like, because I think sometimes people feel stuck and they feel like, they don't know what the next step is. They feel hesitant to take it, in whatever context that may be. But then, it doesn't necessarily mean that all your problems are going to be solved once you make that switch. Once you decide to like, not hang out with that friend anymore and see a new friend. It's like, what you didn't like about that friend before, maybe you, there's different things that you like about that new friend, but different things that you don't like too.
Yeah.
And so in that way, I wonder, like, is there something to, like you say with the dial, is it that like life is always like, you kind of need those new experiences. You kind of always need, to like, maybe switch up environments and, even though like that next environment isn't perfect, it's like, it's something that led you to something new. And like you figured out more about yourself. You maybe you found out, hey, I like this, but I don't like that. And I don't know. It's like, I think that's what's funny to me too. 'Cause it's like that balance between comfort and uncertainty.
Yeah.
Like I think you kind of need both. You need uncertainty sometimes and comfort sometimes.
Yeah, you got to like thread the needle, and I think it is hard, right? Because like the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
Right.
But it's always green where you water it. Right? So it's like if you're not really watering this relationship, but then you go to the next relationship, it's like it's going to just be a different version of suck because you're not really watering any of it. Right? And the same thing whether it's jobs or houses or cities, wherever it may be. So I think it's just figuring out like when is the right time? Kind of like what you said earlier. It's like, well, should I just stop doing this and pivot to something else? It's tough because, right, like, are you quitting too early? Like, are you quitting because it's hard, or are you quitting because it was hard 3 years ago and you're still spinning in the mud? Like, yeah, you should probably get out of that. But it's like, you gotta like figure out like what your like patience level is, right? So it's like, when do you stay? When do you go? And then you gotta like heal that, because then when you get to the next situation, it's like, well, am I just staying because that's who I am, or you gotta run because I used to stay. But, because I used to stay, I'm just going to run from this person. It's like, you jackass, that was a test. You failed it. You went the other direction.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like trying to figure out, like even with relationships, right? It's like, I dealt with this in my last relationship. Or, like, it's a similar thing. But, like, it's a different person, so it's not the same. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
Why you laughed? And I didn't...
I just thought it was funny how you said it's a similar thing. Like,
it can be, right. Like, there'll always be similar things, like with jobs and like relationships and stuff. And then it's like, it's a different person. So like at some point you got to get into a fight. Like, you got into a fight before, but it's like it's a different person. Right. So it's like
I remember, I don't know exactly who it was, but I remember a podcaster saying like, there's so many times in life where you feel like you've treaded this same area so many times before, and you say to yourself, this again. You get that same feeling in like different contexts. But I think like I think people want to beat themselves up over it. I know I do too, because I'm like, why haven't I learned this lesson? But what he was saying is like, each time it happens to you, you're a little bit better. It's
a different form of the lesson.
Yeah. And you might think like, like I'm not progressing, but really at the end of the day, you are. And it's just that, you might need to learn like this part of that same lesson that's like a little bit different. And then in this context, it's like this part of that same lesson. But I think it's like, I think that's so important, and
I think realizing, like, one of the biggest things I realized, like, now, like, being in this relationship for, 10 months now, it's like, if I feel a certain way, I now just assume she already feels the same way about whatever this, like, confrontation is. Like, if I feel like, she doesn't understand what I'm getting at, there's probably a 99.99% chance that she also feels like I'm not getting it. Right. So, like, when I start to frame it that way, it's like, okay, like, if this is how I feel and this is how she feels, now how can I You know, because there are times, right, where it's like, you feel a certain way, and then someone's like, well, you know, you did this and it made me feel this way. And then I was like, it's immediate where it's like, oh, damn, I made someone feel that exact way.
Right,
so it's like, oh, now I'm just going to take literally every, like, confrontation and just assume the other person feels the same way that I feel. And then it would probably just clear up all of that space, which 100% of the time so far it has.
Yeah.
You know, it's very, I think it's like night and day.
No, it's wild, though, because I almost wish that I was able to be two people sometimes. It's like you're yourself when you're in that, like, you know, whatever confrontation or whenever you feel so intensely about something.
Yeah.
And then yourself that can, like, you know, your more, like, logical self that knows how you should deal with this situation.
Yeah.
And, like, could almost, like, pat you on the back and say, like, dude, I know you feel like this right now. But also, it's like, look at it this way. And maybe that's a way to do it, is to just, like, kind of assume that the other person feels the exact same way about this.
Yeah, like, if you just assume you're the problem, then you realize, like, oh, I could have handled this way, but I didn't. You know, like, I forget who I heard say it, but they were like, every argument you have, assume you're the problem. Like, I think... It might have been that divorce lawyer. I think I saw him on the Diary of CEO podcast. I'm pretty sure it was him. It was definitely on Steven's YouTube. But he's like, yeah, if you always assume you're the problem, which is true with anything in life, right? Like, boy, I was on Hinge for a long time, right? But it's like, oh, I'm the problem. Like, man, why do all these dates they're all the same thing? There's like, they seem fun, but there's like no substance. It's like a waste of time. Like, it was a fun dinner, I guess. Yeah. It was like, oh, me, I'm the problem. I am the common denominator in all those dates. It's me.
Yeah, there's a Taylor Swift lyric about that.
Oh, is there really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a joke.
It's me.
Huh? Oh, yeah, yeah, that one, yeah. Yeah, sorry. But it's true though, right? Like when you think about it that way, it's like, okay, now I'm not upset about how these dates go.
Right.
Now I just need to change my profile and just not make it seem like I'm just like the funnest person.
And sometimes that is a tough place to get to, where you can say that it's going to make the situation better, like specifically for yourself. If you can say I'm the problem, because you don't naturally want to do that.
No,
you know. And I think the worry is that it's like, oh, if I make it all my fault, then they won't see their faults. But I think like the opposite thing actually happens, though. It's like as soon as you admit your faults, then the other person realizes like, oh, like it's my fault too.
Yeah, they can't yell at you. You just took it, and then you can't take that too far, right? Like, you can take it all as your fault. Like, no, like someone talking to you like crap or abusing you, like that is not your fault.
Right.
There are things maybe you could be like, oh, like I should have saw this earlier, or I should have saw this coming. I should have never even came home. I should just moved out. Right? There's like things you could think of.
Yeah.
So like anything in life, you can take it way too far. But I think it just helps putting it that way, right? Because like it's impossible to get into an argument when it's like, oh yeah, it is my fault.
Right.
I think that has been like the easiest thing for me, but it is tough for your ego, because now your ego is like, oh shit, I'm the problem.
Right.
But you know, they say a bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul, so I'd rather just take that. Because a good day for the ego is probably a terrible day for your soul. Right. So it's like, yeah, I'll take the bad one and just be like, yep, I messed that up. You know, but I think sometimes too, like I'm very quick to it. And I think sometimes people are like, what the hell? Like, yeah, like we don't need to talk about this for 45 minutes.
Right.
I shouldn't have said that. And then like yeah, like we're good. Yeah. My bad. Like we don't like, yeah, I fucked up. Yeah, like I think being that quick with it really helps too.
You said that there's a difference between the soul and the ego, and I wonder like what you think those like specific differences are, and are they always opposed to each other?
Well, we could ask ChatGPT, but we're not going to. I think ego is like, it's the human part of us, right? It's what like keeps us here, keeps us present. It's also the part of you that realizes like the disrespect and the things that you shouldn't really put up. Which, when someone disrespects you, it's a reflection of them, not you. So people need to start getting over that, because sometimes people are like, they disrespected me. It's like, okay, just move on. Like that's on them, not you. But it's like your ego kind of catches the things like, nah, like I don't like how that person treated me. Like I'm not gonna stand for that shit. Right? Like same thing with anger, right? Like people like, you guys keep shitting on your anger when you get mad at people. Like, yes, don't blow up, don't hurt people, all that stuff. But your anger is actually the emotion that loves you the most. because it's the one that's like, I do not deserve that shit. And I was like, oh, that's a good way to frame anger, because anger is usually like shamed on. But back to your question, I think your soul is more like, it's what connects us as people, right? So whatever anyone believes in, all the differences, like we're all the same thing.
So is it inherently unselfish? Your soul.
Yes, I think it's inherently unselfish, but I don't think your ego is inherently selfish. I think it's like trying to find that balance of like, if you have no ego, like you're not going to be here. Like I don't know. Like I feel like humans need it because it is part of us. It's what kind of like keeps us here.
Do you think the ego is like super tied to like something primal and survivalistic of like, I need to look out for myself so that I survive?
That's a good question. I think maybe like, I think ego is like all those situations where like we think of, like, why are we thinking about this? Like that's our protection mechanism to not do something stupid. So it's like, I think it is a very primal thing. It's actually a good way to put it.
Right. Because I feel like some people say you should shut out your ego, but it's like, should you really though? Like, do they really mean that?
That's called shame.
Yeah.
But that's a different emotion.
Because there's times where I think you do need to listen to it.
Yeah, like when I said something, to my buddy Eric, he's a shaman, and he's like, "That's your ego, buddy," and I was like, "Fucking ego," and he goes, "No, dude," he's like, "You're not getting it." he's like, that's the exact thing he did. Put his hand in his face. Plenty of those moments. Don't worry. Right. And he was like, "Your ego doesn't need any more anger or any shame. Like it's there."
Right.
He's like,
right.
You need to love it, and it'll get out of the way. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, okay. Like, that makes sense.
And then with the soul, so do you think that, like, there's never a time where your ego and soul are aligned? Or do you think that there are times where they are? Because to me, like, I guess the way I look at my, like, a soul is that it's, I don't know, I think, like, however way religiously you look at it, I think there's something about your soul that knows when it's being kind of like spiritually fed. And when you're like, okay, this is why I'm here. And I think sometimes like, you kind of need your ego to like get you to that place.
Yeah, I mean, ego's what drives us, right? Like, and I think I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. Like when you're talking about like when people kind of like shun out like that like ego and that drive of like I just need to get this done. Like that is not a bad thing. Like it made you endure all the pain to accomplish a goal, so it is a good thing. Because if it was just your soul, would you go work so hard and build the Home Depots of the world? Probably not. Like what soul needs to sell hammers, right? Like it's like that. That is an ego, but you can still have your soul attached to that, right? So I think it's like, like if your ego helps you build that thing, and then your soul will use all those resources now to do stuff for other people in your family. So I think they can kind of like coexist. Yeah, I don't think they have to be dual. I think just the more present you are, the more grounded you are. I think that is where they'll kind of like harmonize. Right? So it's like when you're not, I might butcher this, but they say anxiety is when you're living in the future and depression is when you're living in the past. I didn't butcher that. That was accurate. I nailed that one. But it's like peace is being present. Right? Think about like, when are you anxious? Oh shit, I gotta do this thing tomorrow. Like when you're depressed, what are you depressed about? You're not depressed in this exact moment. There's stuff in the past you gotta work on. Right? So it's like, the past is meant to reflect and not live in. The future you're striving for, but you like, why are you stressed about a future that ain't even here yet? So it's like, it's balancing. Like, how do you stay present and still plan for the future without like making yourself anxious for the next thing?
Yeah. And then what you mentioned about depression too, and I think it's like, even if you aren't clinically depressed, I think there's things that like can depress you. You know? And like I think one of the things, like the way I put it is like baggage, like almost like it's a burden that's on top of you, of like that, something that keeps you from thriving and living the life that you need to live. And I don't know, I guess like that's my question is like, what do you do with that baggage, and like what's the solution to get rid of that baggage, or do you is the right thing to get rid of it? You know, because I think sometimes it's like you feel kind of like, I don't know if trapped is the right word, but you kind of feel like subtly like imprisoned by a set of expectations. And I think it comes back to like, you know, maybe the solution is every once in a while like changing things up. But there's a certain point where you do need to commit to something. Like, especially, like, if you have a kid, it's like there's nothing else you can do about that. You have to commit to that kid.
Yeah, don't
you know, you can't just, like, change it up.
You can't,
you know? So it's like, yeah, like, what do you kind of do with that, like, you know, kind of overwhelming burden sometimes?
I think, like, the baggage, you have to unpack it. Right? It's baggage because you're still carrying that shit. But, like, when you unpack it, you kind of, like, you can put it on a shelf. You can put it, it's like a bookshelf, right? Where you can go, be like, let me go revisit this chapter. That's right. Like, that's, like, that's why this happened, because I learned that lesson here. That's why I handled it so well here. You know, and I think I told you this. One of the members from the gym, this was 10, 11, 12 years ago at this point, I feel like. God, it feels like so long ago. One of the clients, John, he was like, there was 3 of us. We're all sitting there. And I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing for a career. My buddy's still trying to grow his gym, maybe invest in something else. The other one was just started a company, but still doing a few other jobs on the side. We're all young. We're in our early 20s trying to figure all the shit out. And he was very successful, and he's like, I'm going to give you the same advice my AA mentor gave me. Right now, you have God on a shelf. And until you take him off that shelf, things will never clear up. And he's like, he's like, whatever you guys believe in. I'm not trying to preach in my religion. He's like, but think about that. And when he said it, one of them was like, okay, buddy. The other one I could tell was like, it was kind of, and I was like, that just imprinted in me. I was like, I don't really know if I agree with that right now, but like, I felt that shit like branded inside of my body. And I thought about it since, obviously, because this is 11, 12 years later. And I think it makes sense. Like, once you find, like, that spirituality part of yourself, it's like, it allows you to be present. Right? It's like being, like, I think it's impossible to be, like, spiritual or spiritually religious and, like, and not be present. So, I that's something I come back to all the time. I think about it. I was like, yeah, he was 100% right. Once I took that off the shelf, I started to figure things out. Stuff started to make sense. I started to feel better about myself and do all those things. So it's like it made such a big difference.
Yeah. And I think the way I look at it too with God is that I think where people miss it is when they set their highest ideal on a material thing. They set it on, you know, a specific amount of money. They set it on, you know, we can go over all the reasons with that, whether it's like ego or like you know, needing to set up your survival mechanisms, like you need a place to live. But, you know, I think it's like, for me, what I come back to whenever I feel like I am getting too materialistic is like, you know, what is that highest thing that I'm serving toward, or what is that top ideal? And I think if it's God, then it's like that's something that can never really depress you, because it's like it is the absolute highest that, and like, you know, like different people have different ways of like finding that like mystery, but I think it's like that's the way I kind of have come to look at God, is that he is a mystery. And
that's accurate.
And like I think with that, it's like you can never stop being so amazed and mesmerized by that. And I think that's like the best kind of drug you could have.
Yeah.
It's just being so kind of like, you know, high or like drunk on the fact that like, you know, there is something greater than you out there, you know. And I don't know, for me that's what I feel like I can come back to. I think the issue with that though is when people, I think, rest too much into that, when they say like, okay, I am going after the ideal. But I think, like, well, more precisely, like, where the issue is like how they have defined it. because I think some people say like, "Oh, this is God," when it's like, maybe you.
I think that's when the ego goes and picks and chooses the stuff.
Maybe like you having an extra cheeseburger is not God, or like if it's some sort of like mega church pastor. I don't know if you having your 7th Ferrari is what God wanted.
Yeah, and it's like, I think too, like prayer and manifestation, all that's great, but you still need to put in the work, right? You got to meet God in the universe halfway. Mm-hmm. You can only pray so much. Like you got to like do something. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, it's good to have goals, like, oh, I want to buy this house, I want to have this car, but it's like, that car doesn't matter when I'm dead, right? Mm-hmm. Like, no one's going to be like, oh, that guy died with the Ferrari, you remember him, bro? Like, no one really remembers that, right? So I think it's, they say people might not remember you, but they remember, like, the way you made them feel. Mm. Right? Like, I forget that guy, I used to work with him, but, I don't know, like, I was never in a bad mood when I worked with that person. Like, you know what I mean? Like... Mm. It just makes a difference on how you are just being... But I think, like, what you said with the mega church, like, that's why I said spiritually religious, because I think you can, like, seem religious, but, like, spiritually religious is, like, also being, like, open and understanding of other people. I think, like, same thing, like, people may say they're spiritual, but it's like, well, outside of the yoga class, you're not a really pleasant person, right? So it's like, I think the ego can sometimes, like, think it's the soul, or it's God, or it's whatever anyone wants to believe in. Mm-hmm. But it's like, is it? Or are we just bending rules now to make kind of fit, right? So it's like, it's everything, right? You got to find a balance, and some people are going to do what they want to do, and you just gotta let them do whatever they want, because it's human nature. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think it's like... and I think like that it's probably important to know too, like that we do have a difference. I think even though we're super like aligned in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like, I think at the end of the day I am, still kind of more of a, a religious Christian, but I think it's like, like as with anything, I think I've seen so much value over the past couple of years of being like, okay, I think I need to shed that kind of ego part of me.
Yeah.
Where it says that, like, there needs to be, like, this particular rule that we follow from this particular verse. And I think it's more of, like, okay, like, sure, there is a lot of people who may feel this particular way about that verse. And maybe I adhere to it, but maybe, I don't assert myself as God and say, oh, that's exactly what that means. And, like, for the context of 2025... there's certain things that are a little bit different now, than they were then, and like, you kind of have to, like from a biblical scholar perspective, like, use exegesis to figure out, like, okay, what was actually meant by that scripture, and like, like specifically if it's in the Old Testament. But yeah, I think too, it's like, I think a lot of people from my background feel that there does need to be like a put your foot down moment too for like certain things that you feel strongly about. But I think it's like, I don't know. I think it needs to come from a desire to like really find the truth and not just like, encourage divisiveness between people,
Yeah, like I think just like being open to everyone's belief, right? Like, I think there are a lot of great things about religion. I just don't know, like, if I believe, like, that this one is, like, has all the answers.
Yeah.
Like, maybe everyone collectively has all the answers, right? Like, I don't know. But I think it's very cool to learn what makes people tick and, what they believe in and stuff. I think just being open and accepting of, like, okay, like, I don't get why people care so much about what other people do. Like, like good. Like, if you're not hurting anybody, like, be nuts. Like, you want to go read the different book, go, like.
Yeah, and I think, too, it's, like, it comes down to that fear of, like, the eternal consequences, And I think that's what makes people be like, okay, this is, now I, like, have to take a stand because of how this particular verse, like, mentions things, and, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like that's, if you are like a religious Christian, that is what you believe, that there is eternal consequences to things. And I think that's what makes people so, feel like there is such high stakes to things, but it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, and I think that's the difference between the soul and the ego too, where it's like the soul is so concerned about eternity, but it's like I think everybody has to realize too that there's a reason why we're here on Earth. Like even like whether you think we started up there, came down here, and are back up there, or whether we start here and we're up there, it's like there's a reason why we're here, and I think that there's value in being physically present and like understanding people, and then like reaching that kind of connection with people. And then if you emphasize too much divisiveness, then you're not going to connect with people.
So do you think, if we're talking about like eternal damnation,
we're getting into the hot topics here.
Well, people always say they fear God, right? And I've heard other people say they fear losing God's favor, which I understand, but like, what you worship something you fear, like losing that favor, I understand, but like, do they really mean they fear God, or do they really mean like how that other guy put it, like I fear losing God's favor?
How I've heard it interpreted is that even though it says fear, it's like it's more of a unbridled respect, and it doesn't necessarily mean like you're like afraid.
You just know how strong like it is, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's like what would you bow down and pray to? Somebody who's like Joe Schmo the mailman around the corner, or would it be like the creator of the universe? And I think it's like in that way you do have that respect, and I think that respect could be like kind of have a definition that's similar to fear when it's to somebody who is the creator.
That makes sense. I'm just always curious sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it's like the way things are explained to, like the way that I think like especially from a religious thing, it's like it seems like people like to use a lot of words that like mean something to like whoever's in that bubble. But then when the people who are outside the bubble, it's like what the heck are you talking about?
That makes sense, because I always thought, right, because there's like, right, some people think it's like an eternal thing, right? We're eternally going to the cool place or the poopy place, right?
Yeah.
Or then other people think like we're just souls that just keep doing our thing. And at some point you can figure out like if you want to guide people from up there or you want to come back and do this shit again. Which is like, I think we might talk about the other day, it's like that's like the bright white light they see when you're dying is you coming back out. Which I think that's way too fast. So I don't know, that seems way too fast for me. So I don't know about that one. But what is your thoughts on that, right? Because sometimes people feel like, oh, this is deja vu. Like, I've been here before. And then other people will be like, oh, like, I feel like I know you. Or I just met you. It's like, well, are your souls, like, familiar for, like, 8,000 years? And we're just figuring out how long have humans been around for? I don't know. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a very interesting... There's a movie with Mark Wahlberg called Infinite, and it's pretty much that. There's one people trying to keep all the souls reincarnating, and then there's another one who's like, fuck this shit. Let's put them all in a box and wrap this up. It's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting movie. I'm like, is this a spiritual movie? I'm like, what am I watching right now?
I'll have to check that out.
It's called Infinite. I think it's on Amazon. It's somewhere for free. I don't think you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Maybe Paramount. But anyway, what's your thoughts on that?
On, like, which one is more valid?
Yeah, like, do you think we just go upstairs or downstairs, or we think we just keep roller coastering this puppy?
I think what my stance is now is that, like, I do think that there is an upstairs and downstairs, but I think that my understanding of how that works is never going to be, like, the legitimate understanding of, like, what God has planned or what is really going on. And I think, it seems like, relatively recently too, that people, I think by and large, are opening themselves up to a spiritual reality, and I think it's like a philosophical transformation. I don't know what exactly it is, but it felt like even when I was very young that, people seem to be more kind of materialistic than they are now. And I don't know if it's just like social media and everybody sharing their stories and people being like, oh shoot, like maybe there's some reality to that. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, to me, I love the idea of like exploring more into, my faith, but also into science and looking at as looking at science and truth is something that I want to continue to explore, and not something that like I need to fit into like a nice little basket.
Yeah, like keep evolving, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, you know, so I think it's like, I think I have the firmness of, you know, I do think that, you know, basically what my interpretation is of the Bible, that there is that, but I think that, you know, how that's, you know, how God is able to construct all of that, and like the way his judgment works and all of that, I think it's like I'll never be able to fully understand that. You know?
Well, I think that's the point of it, right? Like, if we could prove it, like, if you're looking for proof, then, like, science is your religion, because that's what's proving everything.
Right.
But I think the whole point of it is not proof. Like, it's easy to believe in something. Like, I can believe it rains, because that shit happens all the time.
Right.
Right? So it's like, I think a big part of it is believing in the uncontrollable. But that's the scary part, because your ego's like, oh, I can't control this, right? So
yeah, and that's, I think it's the fun part too, though, right?
Yeah,
'cause it's like, you know, maybe it would have been, you know, even though like it's nice that we know science now, but I think there probably would have been something fun about living, you know, whatever 10,000 years ago and thinking that a lightning strike was Thor. It's like, oh, Thor, there he is!
Yeah, that
you know?
That's a cooler theory anyway. Like
that would have been fun.
I'm a real big fan of that one. All right, I'm pretty sure I have to go clean the carpet yet again. My girlfriend's dog has got something, clearly, because there's no way she just did that again. It's been an hour. Cool. So how should we close this puppy off?
I love how you say puppy.
Yeah, well, not, yeah, she's fine.
But yeah, I don't know. Left the conversation. I feel like there's so much more to talk about.
Oh, there is. We don't have to cram it into one. So,
yeah.
Let's see. Give us your feedback. Any questions, comments, anything you want us to answer next episode, let us know. But thanks for tuning in to episode 1 of the Spiritually Incorrect podcast with Chris and Jesse.